Dolittle is directed by Stephen Gaghan, and it stars Robert Downey Jr. and quite a ensemble cast: Tony Banderas, and the voices of Emma Thompson, and quite among others. And this is a new adaptation of the original Doctor Dolittle books that were inspired by the book. They were based on a story by Thomas Shepard. Or no, I'm sorry. Let me back it up. It's based on the voyages of Doctor Dolittle, the author's second Doctor Dolittle book by Hugh Lofting. Sorry, the author was Hugh Lofting. And this is also a reboot of the Doctor Dolittle films that originally started out, I believe, back in the '60s when we had, yeah, it was in the '60s, and then we had the ones with Eddie Murphy in the '90s and the early 2000s. And in this story, we deal with Dr. Dolittle, who's this time played by Robert Downey Jr. He's a veterinarian who has the ability to communicate with animals, and he pretty much has to go embark. He stumbles across this boy who he becomes his assistant in order to basically find this this antidote.
Garden.
Or
It's Garden of Eden. Basically, the story goes: a girl and this boy show up on Doctor Doolittle's doorsteps, and he's kind of been dormant after some kind of stuff that happened prior to the events of the start of the movie, which is narrated, by the way. Laziness narrated, and pretty much the queen has been poisoned by one of her lead soldier men, and she's dying. So they pretty much come to Dr. Dolittle to get him out of retirement so he can go on this voyage all the way to this place where it has this. It's called the Garden of Eden, and basically they need to find this plant. It has the antidote for the what she was poisoned by, and they have like a time limit to do it.
yeah, and it pretty much becomes a series of vignettes that involve with talking animals, like we've seen in a lot of other kids' movies, along with a sort of, well, Pirates of the Caribbean s swashbuckling type adventure style.
And
And
while you're on that level, Pirates of the Caribbean, more like fucking the great value version of it.
yeah, or and now here's a little backstory. Now, as we said, this movie was based on the original series of books that were about the Doctor Dolittle character, and I've actually like heard a lot of I've actually heard about those books, but I never really read them. But I'm sure that that they've inspired quite a lot of phenomenon of like with the ways that it introduced pretty much. It sparked the ground of a person that the story about a person that can talk to animals and stuff. And the only really interpretations I remember fondly of Doctor Dolittle was the Eddie Murphy movies that I watched in the '90s and the early 2000s with the first two. And with those
Yeah.
movies, it's been a long time since I've seen them, but I remember at least when I was a kid enjoying those. It's been too long since I remember them, but I remember them being not too bad. And I was aware
Yeah.
of the '60s movie, but I just never really watched that one.
Yeah. See, my as old as I am, well, not extremely old, but older than you. My first interpretation of Doctor Dolittle was actually the Eddie Murphy ones. I didn't know shit about them. I didn't even know books exist. I thought these movies created some new idea or something. Then come to find out, as I got older and read about it, it was like, okay, now it was based off a series of books that was more like kind of like it had like a thing with voyaging, like adventures and stuff, kind of like Indiana Jones. And it was set around the Victorian times. It's like, wait, Eddie Murphy's wasn't like that. Come to find out, Eddie Murphy's was a modern take. And a lot of times when you stray that far from a book, a lot of people do not like it. But I think the Eddie Murphy ones had a lot of charm with them. And Eddie Murphy was really good in those movies. And they came off as family funny that you can laugh at, and it didn't need you were able to laugh real hard on shit and it wasn't raunchy because it was for kids. And I remember going to see both of them in the drive-in when they first came out. I haven't seen them in a long time either, but I remember enjoying them. And I know Eddie Murphy holds both those films together. And then they ended up doing I think a third one where his daughter took over.
That's right. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, and basically that's all I know. I've never seen the movies from like the '60s or anything, so Then when I heard this movie was coming out, Robert Downey Jr. post-hype, post-MCU playing Dr. Dolittle, and then they were going to go back to the whole Victorian times, the actually by the book. I was like, okay. And then the trailers seemed like it wasn't that bad at all. It seemed like it was going to be a very good emotional roller coaster type of movie. I was like, okay, I'm really digging the trailer to this film. And then I heard some reviews and talk about, I was blown away from what I was hearing. And it took us a minute to go see this film. And of course, hard with the coronavirus going on, we decided to play catch up in some movies. And this is one we so happened to miss. And let's just say, holy shit. What the fuck? Who thought this was the right direction? Oh my god, this was a colossal fucking mess from beginning to end. This was one of the worst live action family films that I've seen in a long time. This was cringy from beginning to end. And I'm gonna tell you straight up, on the pro side, other than Victorian thing, trying to go by that book with the whole Victorian thing, that's the only thing pro about this film. That was my only pro. There ain't no other pros. And starting off already with my cons, Robert Downey Jr. Boy, were you suffering from jet lag of playing Tony Stark for so long? Why? Well, and I say this why, because he was given free range to do this movie. Why did you go this direction? Man, Robert Downey Jr., this is by far his worst performance of his entire career, and definitely his worst movie he's ever been in, ever. He comes off, he thinks he comes off as like this Shaggy-esque, like playing Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. He comes off as this over-the-top Shaggy, painfully funny, horrible accent. Oh my god, the way he talks in this film. It's like, oh my god, I'm watching Tony Stark just fucking kill his career on a movie. Like, this is a career-killing type of movie, and I'm hoping this isn't. I'm gonna tell you right now, this wasn't a good start post MCU at all.
No,
that's one of my.
No, I agree. Like it's definitely. I agree with you. It's certainly a low point in Robert Downey Jr.'s career, because this is a guy who, keep in mind, he started his career off doing a lot of very serious roles back in the 80s and 90s, and he was doing a lot of drama movies, and then occasionally he would have some comedies here and there. But before Iron Man, he always built himself as a serious actor, and there was at least one movie I did see with him in it before Iron Man, where he was in, called The Shaggy Dog. And when I remember seeing that movie, I was like, wait a minute, that's the guy from Iron Man. How is he in this, but was in this movie? And he's and he was pretty painful in that movie too. But after upon like seeing his performance in this, it was weird because he takes this kind of Welsh accent, which it throws me off, not only because it seems like he was trying to do a parody of his accent from fucking Sherlock Holmes with that kind of voice, and also.
Well, the thing is with the thing with the Sherlock Holmes movie, since I've seen them, is he's more self-contained in that film. And I think it is Guy Ritchie, right, who directed those.
Yeah.
And the way the humor's going, and it's very self-contained. He's not like over the top, so to speak, in those movies. And the way the movie is playing itself, and the help of Guy Ritchie being a genius at that type of style, that made those movies, even though I wasn't really a big fan of the Sherlock Holmes, I just didn't care for them. They weren't bad. I just didn't care for them. It's a lot easier on that than this, which should have never went this direction. Like, you got a guy who's, I don't even know the fucking director, don't even know who the writer is. And it's like, take low end people.
The director actually is one of the directors that has done high profile movies. To actually, he was actually a serious director that did. He directed Syriana from 2005. He also wrote, get this, he wrote a movie you remember called Havoc. He also wrote Traffic. So he's pretty talented director.
There's an issue right there. You're telling me those are training day type movies. Though on that level, so you're telling me this is the first family oriented movie this guy wrote, not to mention first comedy. So there you go, right there. You got a guy he's never had experience in, and you see it very, very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the fact he references, I want to make my movie so much like Disney. That's what my goal is. I'm sorry, bud, but Disney can make a bad movie from time to time, but they don't make it this fucking bad. Like, my only question is how the fuck did this cost you $175 million and it comes out looking like a $2 horror, and fucking Lee Winnell can spend $5 million on a movie, and that some bitch looks like a higher budget than fucking Endgame.
Yeah.
How? Where did he go? Did it go to Robert Downey Jr.? You need to get your fucking money back, because I'm sorry, Robert Downey Jr. fucking butchered the movie himself.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to also go back a little further with, was that the movie ran over 175 was $175 million budget that was costly with. I think it mostly had to do with the production, but also with Robert Downey Jr. But also, I did hear that they actually had to do some reshoots behind the scenes, because apparently when test audiences first screened the film, they said that it wasn't funny enough. So they actually had to do 21 days worth of reshoots just to try to get some more comedy in. And you could tell that with some of those comedy, the scenes they try to add with some of the humor didn't fucking pay off.
Yeah, that which is going to lead to my another con. So you're telling me they had 21 extra days to shoot, and this was the final cut? Now getting into my next con, the comedy. Oh my god, was this fucking unbearable? The fucking fart jokes and the kicking in the nads and stuff. Oh my god, you got to be fucking serious. And it was so juvenile that I would probably give more credit to that, what was that raunchy comedy with the kids, Good Kids or Good Boys? Yeah, I would give that more credit on its juvenile shit than this, even though that's apples and oranges, because that was a raunchy ass comedy. But still, it's just, what the fuck, man? How much fucking fart jokes and stupid humor? And here's another thing about the humor that did not work well at all in this film is, I bitched about Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. Let's bash on some other people in this, because everybody did terrible in this film. The choices of the American actors and actresses for the voices of the animals, and their modern day slang, like snitches get stitches, homie don't play that, and stuff like that, does not fit in the Victorian times.
It don't.
It's like modern day how we speak today, with slang mostly, in a fucking movie set in the 1900s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this kind of humor would not work in this type of setting, especially how it feels outdated with a lot of the way the characters speak. And a lot of the performances, they're very one note too, because you have some talented people, talented actors in here that are all wasted, where to the point where they're carried to deliver. Well, first of all, their whole joke is just their whole character trait. Like for example, Octavia Spencer, she voices the duck, I think. Yeah, the duck who's supposed to. There's a running joke with her where she basically confuses a fucking forceps with a fucking leaf, and she does it with to give to Robert Downey Jr. And then that joke goes fucking farther around to the point where, spoiler, toward the end, she ends up giving it to him to, I shit you not, take a fucking whatever the leaf thing was that they use, and he sticks it up this dragon's ass. That's how fucking far out this comedy is.
And that's the thing with the actresses and actors that are in this. Most of the animals are actually played by Americans, by the way, like Octavia Spencer. Octavia Spencer, I love her as an actress, and when she plays, she's playing a lot of stuff that I enjoy. But this is like a very Victorian setting, so when she talks with that whole kind of like slangish of modern day American, she went with that modern day rapper type vibe, something you've seen off of Housewives of Atlanta, and she was going with that in a Victorian setting, and she goes, "No, homie, don't play that, nah, and stuff. That does not fit." Now, it would probably fit in the Eddie Murphy world, but we're not there anymore. We're in a different world, a different time, and a lot of these people stick out. And speaking of Robert Downey Jr. and the American people, because of, I felt like this movie could have went more for like a, it could have went with more of a heartwarming. Maybe they should have went with that approach with Doctor Dolittle. They should have went with a British actor for one to play Dolittle, and really, honestly, this should have been an all British cast. That's
Yeah.
just me. I'm sorry. They're set in that time period. They're in that place. Come on, explain some things to me. Why
Yeah.
we're speaking.
Give it for what it was. If it was me that was picking like someone else to probably play the role, if it was in a British cast, I would have put someone. I mean, well, he's not used to this type of like genre, but it would be interesting if they were going for like a heartwarming type of vibe. I would get somebody like maybe Daniel Craig or maybe Henry Cavill, someone that can actually pull it off.
Daniel Craig, and I would never. It does. Doctor Doolittle's don't need comedy because the Eddie Murphy version did it. Wasn't intended that the Doctor Doolittles back in the day were fucking hilarious. They weren't. I would have wanted more of a heartwarming venture story,
Just an
and they
adventure
should
vibe.
have with a very like a more touch feeling type base,
Yeah.
and instead of comedy, it could have done something big like on Indiana Jones type of level or something bigger than that. Pirates of the Caribbean are very well known. Well, they're comedy mainly, but they still that big venture world they do. They didn't even expand the plot of this movie because here's another issue I have: the writing, the direction, the plot. They go two fucking places, and that is the fucking movie. They go to this place where they leave the original place where they find Doolittle and they plan on finding the antidote. Then they got to go to this place where Dr. Doolittle's got a backstory where his wife and him, something happens to the wife. That's what made him pretty much give up on life and became dormant. But anyways, they come to this like kind of like island world thing where Dr. Doolittle's had bad history with somebody and he's won a man. And then from there, they go to the final place, which is the fucking eating place. And I'm like, that was a fucking adventure.
Yeah.
Wow.
And not to mention, just to get into some of my small pros, not to backtrack, but one of the couple things I will say that the film kind of did that wasn't too bad. There are some great location settings with the film, the way it's shot in some of the locations they go to, and the novelty of them trying to do more like, on this type of adventurous type feel could work if you were following the book more and maybe, taking more of that setting and stuff. And I will say, forgive for what it is, it seemed like to me the only actor I think that was even trying to remotely try to at least put some kind of effort was probably Antonio Banderas. But
And
because I could tell if he was in a better film, I guarantee that character would have worked in more of that, that swashbuckling type feel of it,
why do villains seem so poorly done? Like even Antonio Banderas, performance wise, I will admit that it looked like he attempted to do something, even though he's on screen not that long. But and trailers tricked me because I thought he was the villain, but no,
Yeah.
it's other person that's a villain that kind of poisoned the whatever that helped poison the queen, and it looked like the fucking twin brother Simon Pegg. I thought it was Simon Pegg for a while.
It's actually you remember him. That's the lead vampire dude from it's Michael Sheen who played from the Twilight movies.
I knew I recognized him. Anyways, why did the villains in this feel like something out of something generic like the Smurfs? Like they just came off so fucking just plain and blah.
And yeah, it was almost like I was seeing his type of role, like he was playing Gordon Knight from fucking Smurfs. I was like that weird smimey type, over the top personality of his. Which, granted, to an extent, from what I've seen of the guy, he seemed like he was the only one that was, having that unintentionally hilarious level in the Twilight movies. But even still, it was very just like, okay, this is off putting,
It's so generic that you about fall asleep and not even know you care about anything with the fucking villains or anything. Which comes to my next fucking con with this film. I was so incredibly bored with the entire story. I had a hard time paying attention. And I've seen some bad movies. You've seen our previous reviews. In fact, me and Justin are in quite the role of fucking. And you've seen me say how bad certain movies were. It's unwatchable and stuff like that. On the boring aspect, I would say this takes the cake on boringness because I about fucking fell asleep. I FaceTime my sons. I did everything in my mind to try to watch a couple minutes straight without me going pause.
Yeah,
And I didn't pay money to go see this in theaters. I would have fell
yeah.
asleep right in the middle of it. Just at home, I could do other things, but I'll tell you, wow,
Yeah, this
this
is a
was
film that honestly, even though I was still, going along with it, there were times I just wasn't really paying attention much and I was just like, I don't fucking care. This story is not engaging to me. It's just it's nothing happening and all the stupid shtick that these animals keep doing is all the shit that we've seen in other countless animal talking movies and it's very juvenile humor like you said where the jokes fall flat on a no ends and it's just it's such a fucking colossal of endless scenes of them,
yeah,
constantly.
and it doesn't even feel like it blends together. Nothing does. It just feels like they've lost touch of energy of what they were going to go with in the story. It just you could see it die incredibly bad. It's like
Yeah,
oh, let's just do that. No, let's do that. And another thing I got to complain about. It started off good. I'll give it credit, and I actually hear a lot of people say this in the reviews, and I saw it too. The beginning, the CGI was actually rendered very good. I mean, not very good, but just good, standard good. Then I saw what everybody talked about when they said once you get about 20 minutes in, then oh my god, the CGI gets incredibly fucking bad. One,
yes.
like I'm talking about CGI up here at the first 15, 20 minutes, then it's like nosedives.
Oh, dude, I was like the worst for me. Like I'll admit, like I'm kind of like about 25% of the CGI is all right, but then the rest of it, it's like okay, yeah, it's very noticeable. The worst part for me, believe it or not, was when we get to the dragonfly, the one voiced by that one guy, the Jason Mazurkowitz or whatever. The fucking eyes they give to him was something I was kind of creeped out by. I was like, you
Uh,
can't be fucking serious.
well, here's a couple of scenes that was probably took the cake as worse than that as far as CGI, and it happened to be two scenes where two different characters ride on animals. The boy riding on the ostrich looked so obvious, or no, the boy riding on a giraffe looked so obvious, and Dr. Dolittle riding on the ostrich looked so fucking painful. Like it was
Yeah,
like definitely green screened to the
yeah.
Tommy Wiseau level. It, it was atrocious. It was so bad. But yeah, without being said, like this, and not only that, there was something emotional that should have been in that film that I should have felt that happens in this film that it felt empty, incredibly fucking empty. And there's actually something they try to introduce later on with the fucking dragon. This is where the movie went way the fuck out of its realm, even from the book. And I will tell you right now, that fucking just that emotional thing what they were trying to do with the dragon and the whole fart thing is just like what? And then you could tell the movie said, "Yeah, we fucked up," and then they rush. And another thing I do want to complain, Ron, it's on my mind, was another thing that kind of bothered me was the film starts out like a narration type thing, like they're going to tell a story. When you do that, the person usually guides you, but doesn't make your audience feel stupid. Well, here's two things that happened in this room they did incredibly wrong with the narrating part. this person narrates the beginning, and then just out of a blue in a scene that wasn't even important, decided to narrate that real quick. It was narrating weird scenes that didn't really need any explanation, and it makes your audience feel fucking stupid.
Well, you know, that reminds me, right? It reminds me of last year when they did that with the Fanatic, when they had the scenes of the narration going in. I was like, okay, this is a character that's supposed to clearly be representing, you know, for the audience. But what's confusing is that because the narrator is played by Emma Thompson, what's confusing is that it's almost like she's trying to tell a story, but we realize that she's actually, it's almost like she's addressing it to the boy, but then toward the end of it, she tells the story again to the audience. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, in this scene, that one of the narrating scenes is actually saying, "Oh, Robert Downey Jr. or Doctor Dolittle was wanted for doing this, and because he did this, it did this." While they're doing this blatantly before the narration, you see the wanted poster. Gee, I know what a wanted poster means. The person is wanted. Do I need to be fucking told that? That happens a lot in this film. They're on when they do narrating, but they narrate also scenes that don't make no fucking sense. Usually, when they narrate a big, a certain thing. But in this one, it's almost like equivalent to saying, "Oh, by then, Doctor Dolittle turned right, and then he decided to go left up the street and up the stairs." It's like popped in. It's like, why did they need a key narrating scene for that?
It's like,
And why
oh, you think?
they're needing a narrator other than beginning to end. I see some films do that, but this person was just popping sporadically throughout the film. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
now you're just it's a fucking story. I'll just go and listen to the audio version of the book from the '60s on fucking YouTube for free. It's like I'm paying for a fucking movie here. Unfortunately, I had to, but I ran it cheap though. But anyways, I could keep ranting on and on. This is what you do not do with family movies at all. And Robert Downey Jr., shame on you, and I hope this doesn't ruin your career, buddy. I know you could do a lot better than this, but boy, did you drop the fucking hammer, the ball, the Thor hammer. You dropped from fucking the sky and hit the fucking pavement hard on this one. This was terrible, terrible. I have nothing to say. With that being said, I could not get over the fact how bad this is. Unfortunately, I didn't like anything about it, and this is gonna shock people, or it might not shock people. I'm giving it a flat line on Film Freaks meter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you. This was definitely a flat line for me myself. Even though I had like small little things that was there, this movie was just so fucking boring to the point where I really just didn't. I was like so like uninterested to the point like, okay,
It's
yeah,
sad.
this is what you don't do with a fucking family movie.
It's sad that the movie that was meant to pay aching towards the book was horrible, and the one that strayed so far away from the book that it's almost like another world. Eddie Murphy's version, usually that's a bad sign when it comes to books, was actually 100,000 times better than this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, fair enough. For those of you who have also seen Doolittle and the books that the movie is based off of, and if you've also seen the other the Eddie Murphy ones, let us know in the comments below what you thought about them. If like we see here, you can feel free to like, subscribe to our channel, and check out some of the views here and our website at filmfreaks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. Stay safe, and we'll see y'all later.
Later.